Hello and welcome to Gloves Off number 5, Direct Deposit. Today we have with us Koopa.
Space Jam 2 will win an Oscar.
It might. Shoyo James.
Hey.
Hello. That baby. Are hungry. And then we have a guest today, following suit to our topic, which is going to be crowdfunding, crowdsourcing, and that is a legend of his own right, Glentendo.
Kaboom.
Kaboom. So yeah.
Kaboom.
What? Yeah. What is the kaboom?
There's supposed to be an earth-shattering kaboom.
I mean, it caught me by surprise.
Yeah, you should have did it the Wind Waker one.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Sploosh. That's the one, right?
Yeah.
So anyhow, we had an episode about crowdfunding, aka crowdsourcing, and this is kind of a staple in the Smash community in terms of like how people travel and how events happen, and basically just the overall flow of activity. It kind of gets dictated by crowdfunding. Not entirely. This is actually not an intentional continuation from last week, which was sponsorship, but it does go hand in hand pretty well. Because outside of sponsorship, this is essentially the money that funds a lot of the things that happen around the scene. And we see it most commonly with 2GG, which is, you know, if you don't know what 2GG is and you're watching a Smash podcast, I'd be very surprised. But they basically coined something like the compendiums, which you'll see through Smash GG, where essentially people will get donations to travel to their events and compete. And it's a good way to get out-of-region players into Southern California, particularly. And it's not the only crowdsourcing we see. There's also websites, things like Patreon. There's GoFundMe. What's the other ones? There's Kickstarter.
Yep.
And they're all a little different in their own right. But
and some people honestly are just like super generous. Like I can't tell you how many people I know who like they just offer to pay for their friend to entrance, or like, you know, even just local sponsors, like people who are sponsored by like a small game store or like whatever. So the community in general seems like super generous.
Yeah, there's seemingly money there. And I think it's a big part of what attracts existing sponsors and basically growing sponsorships is you see a flow of money and activity and just overall interest. And the interest itself is super grassroots in terms of people just funding their friends. And yeah, Glenn, you're actually a perfect example for this because you got a trip actually through crowdfunding. James, also, you also got a trip through crowdfunding, or maybe a couple. And I guess we could safely say they're tournaments you guys would have never went to otherwise.
Yeah,
sure. Completely.
Wait, what trip did James get? I actually don't remember that.
Civil War.
Oh, well, okay, cool.
Oh, wow. I was actually
That was the
thinking.
only one.
Yeah, I was thinking, wasn't there a tournament in Oklahoma that like flew you out for something?
No, I paid for that.
Party. Okay.
Mario Party one, Alpha Red split with me to go. I was like, okay, cool. Yeah, I'll go then. There's no crowdfunding.
Nice.
But
Yeah,
what was Midwest Mayhem? Was that just your own?
Yeah, we got super cheap deals, and then JJ Rockets offered us housing.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was like your breakout too.
Yeah, it was pretty all right.
Yeah, whatever.
It was,
and I quote, "We lost to an expletive named James."
An expletive.
I ain't gonna say it.
Pussy.
Yeah, you're right.
So crowdfunding. I do want to talk a little bit about the sources for crowdfunding. I already mentioned Smash GG and the compendiums. Basically, like if you're a tournament and you have your tournament page, I'm actually going to pull up a Smash GG page now. Do we have any tournaments coming up that have any kind of compendiums or fundraising?
Big House, maybe.
Big House, I'll try that. But in either case,
GTX is
yeah.
GTX is People are trying to get Jackal on that. That one's a competitive one.
Yeah, I feel like that's like extra topical because like I figured it would be like a good idea to have Glenn on for this because obviously he has experience with being funded for something through a compendium, and also it's super topical because GTX is like one of the last big tournaments of the year, and I think that's like one of my favorite parts about like compendiums because like compendium culture is very high school in my opinion.
Agreed.
Like it's basically like a big popularity contest, and it's a dick measuring contest for how like popular you are amongst your peers for the most part. But I also like it because it there's always that sense of camaraderie with that, because you feel, it's like what Glenn said, like people are very generous and people are super nice, and there's always that like that little bit of I guess like self-fulfillment and gratitude that like goes with like getting one of your own out to something that they wouldn't normally be able to get to.
Right.
So like
one of the things that I realized, and I think a lot of people need to understand this about crowdfunding and like compendiums and stuff, is that a lot of it is personality. Like there are always going to be players where you feel like, oh, like we didn't, there's like a really great player. And there was an example of this, like I think 2 weeks ago, where like I'm not sure who it was, but there was like a really high level top player from our region who like just right before the event, like he made the compendium and stuff, and then he didn't promote himself enough, and he didn't have a lot of people fund him. So
it was Barnes, I think.
Yeah, right. It was Barnes. So, and he's
there's actually a different story. But Shinji didn't have enough, and someone was like, "I got you," and paid like $700 in full.
Yeah,
wow.
I remember he tweeted about it. Like the way that he got that final jump was that he was like, "Hey, like my funding I didn't make it, I guess." And like you have to realize that you can be a great player. I think the people who generally make these things are also good, but a lot of it is that people want to like the person that they're giving money to, and it's not purely just like skill based. And to go back to what you guys asked earlier about like my experience with that, like for me, the stars kind of aligned because, I'm not like the best player in New Jersey or New York or anything like that. But I got lucky that it was a Hyrule like Zelda themed tournament, which is the first thing. And I happened to play a character where I'm pretty much the only person that plays that character in our area. So in a way, I had a little bit of an easier time, like without having too much competition for Link specifically. Whereas like if you're a Sheik player, you're going to be going up against like Vinny, and you're going to be going up against like amazing Sheik players from our region. So, Biddy also made it, and he's obviously the best Toon Link in our area. I'm the best Link player. So there's a lot of different like factors. Like it's not as simple as some people make it seem. It's not as simple as like, you're a great player, so you're just going to get a bunch of money. Like you need to be good, and people need to like you, and there needs to be some other factors there, and you definitely need to put in work for like promoting yourself.
I think that's a great point, because we did actually see a couple guys, as you mentioned, for SCRs particularly, which is something we'll cover with tournament recap coming up a little later on. So Billy did get on the compendium, and just a reminder for anyone who doesn't know what compendium is, it's basically you're opened up to get donations from anyone who wants to see you travel. So what happened is Billy did get on the compendium, but he did not get basically the funding because he didn't really market it. But then you see a couple New Jersey players who did get total funding, and funding being, I think they were like $500-600. I think that was the mark for each of them, maybe $600 a piece.
Yeah, something around that.
Yeah, which was met times 2 because it was Fruit and AC Menez, who's a Pit player and a Palutena player, and I think it like caught a few people by surprise, but really if you watch them as they were doing their campaigning, they were very effective in their marketing, and they basically got the seed behind them. And I think a lot of the locals in New Jersey particularly said, yeah, you know what? I would love to see you guys compete over there, just kind of represent the region a little bit.
And also to about like the reason I was a little bit like I was disappointed for Billy as well, because I know that for me, like he really like he donated a lot to me specifically, and I've seen him just like support people on compendiums like a lot. So I was a little sad when I saw that he didn't make it, because like that guy, everyone's friends with Barnes, and like he's a great dude, and he's really, really good. Like there are definitely players who got funded who he's clearly better than, but like, again, it's not just a skill contest. Like people need to stop looking at it as just we're funding the best possible players all the time.
It's sales. It's a little bit sales.
Personally, I just didn't even know. I was just like, he said, "Oh, I didn't make it. I didn't get any funding. I literally had 0%." I'm like, "Oh, you were on it?"
Like, oh, I remember. Yeah, I remember that. Yep.
Yeah.
Like everyone and their mother hears of Jackal trying to get on this current compendium, and for a good reason. He's like literally DMing all of us, asking us to advertise, stuff like that. I don't think he did any of that whatsoever.
Yeah, like that's kind of
he just did the initial part and forgot to advertise the second part.
Right, exactly. Like that's what I was exactly what I was just gonna say, because half the battle, like people that are like trying to campaign for like a 2GG compendium, like you don't really realize it until you have a horse in a race. So like when we eventually campaigned Glenn into getting on the actual compendium, because you have to go through obviously the first phase where like you get nominated by people you know, and then in this case 2GG or whoever your tournament organizer might be, they'll I'm sorry, did you guys hear the screaming in the background?
Yes.
Yeah,
That's fine. It's
all
fine.
right, I like it.
No, I'm sorry. So basically, like, you have to go through 2 phases of the. Hold on one second. I'm sorry.
If one thing that another element here when it comes to this stuff is that characters, again, like I said earlier, I kind of had an obscure character, right? So my competition for that wasn't as steep locally. But like another big factor is like people who play low tiers or mid tiers, they are really prideful and they're very close-knit community and they really support each other a lot. So like the Ganon community at Hyrule Saga, there were like fucking 10 Ganons that got funded and they all helped each other out. Like they were super supportive of each other. Like people who play these really low tier characters, they want everyone to succeed. And like when you play a top tier, you know, there's not that same energy around your character. And that does translate into how people want to support you. So that's like another factor to consider.
I think understanding really what drives people to donate money, because we've seen it come in droves, and you know this has been a popular method for getting players to travel, and essentially what put 2GG on the map in terms of uniqueness and what they offer for an event is what drives someone to donate in the first place, which we kind of covered. But I think if it was a kind of a more well-known thing, I think the implications of crowdfunding, especially for something like Smash, is pretty big, because it is people very willing to donate, but like in the meantime, the donate's very specific to just getting one person from point A to point B. But I kind of think that there are other things that you could crowdfund in terms of like making a gaming scene work, personally.
Like what?
So I've thought about this before, right? So I would say the biggest issue of basically Smash Brothers, I'll just say Smash in particular, just because it is the main topic here and it's what we all know best. But so I guess the biggest issue is flow of money in the community, right? So what happens is when you crowdfund, that essentially eliminates that as long as everyone thinks what's being funded is a good idea. So generally, like I kind of think like, okay, so you have 2GG in particular, which is Southern California. They get players out there by collective donations, a lot of times coming from the regions themselves. But what if, and I'm going to get into more of the platforms and how this could work, people were to crowdfund for their own region and then send players that way? Like essentially like you're making teams per region, right? Oh. So if you had like a central source for each region to pool money and then decide where that money should go to basically best represent their scenes, like I feel like there's some really interesting implications, really.
That's an interesting idea, yeah.
So, but like the tricky part is it would require some uniformity in terms of like how it runs by scene, or some overall like I guess what would be considered a neutral and fair central source for it to travel through. I think 2GG was able to do it because they did a great job with their events. Like they put on great events. They're very from what I've heard, they're very comfortable if you get to travel there. It's like basically like a vacation, which you guys could speak for, which is really amazing. But,
yeah, I mean, first of all, I got really lucky that Biddy got funded as well, because like one of the things I was thinking about was like the trip was so much better because me and him are already friends. So I had someone with me the whole time and we just got to hang out and meet all these people. So I didn't have to go by myself. But then on top of that, like you're completely right. Like the second I got there, I was blown away by the fact that like where they set us up was a really nice hotel. There was like, it felt like just everything was taken care of. And yeah, it really did feel like you're just on a vacation and you happen to just be playing Smash while you're there. So I can't say enough about how much fun that was and how great 2GG was. And like any little issues that we had, like they resolved everything really quickly. They were very open. Like it felt like there was a lot of communication and stuff, like all around like positive experience. I can't say anything negative about it, honestly.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. That's like a really good endorsement. And you're not the only person I've heard this from. I think James has mentioned pretty similar stuff. But yeah, so I think about this and I think like, okay, so if you had basically regions and let's just say instead of funding people to fly out to 2GG in particular, we've all seen things like, well, why doesn't 2GG? We've seen a Tristate saga sort of in Smash Sounds and stuff like that, where there was some funding, but most of the funding ended up on some of the guys that are tied to 2GG, like Homo Rakiri and all those guys who essentially came out. And I thought the coolest part about Smash Sounds, which was quote unquote a Tri-State saga, was that like you got to see those Japanese players that follow 2GG that usually live on the West Coast for American Smash. Like you got to see them on the East Coast, and seeing some of those unique sets and sort of just the interaction of those guys on the weeklies is pretty great. So in that sense, instead of 2GG funding people to come to them, they funded people to go outward. So like, what if theoretically each region did that? So you're sending like your players to and then hosting people from, and like it kind of just worked as like the scene kind of gives the vote, but like the overall entity that collects the money will go towards the compendium for the other person organizing, if that makes sense.
Right. And just a quick thing about like the Smash compendium, I think that actually raises a really interesting question, and I'll open it up to you guys also. But that there's a lot of flack behind that compendium because you look at a lot of the list of players that were on the list, like players like AC and Void and so on and so forth, and a lot of them got like 0 to no funding. And I think the big complaint that people have with compendiums is it's like, oh, it's always the same 5 or 6 people that get blown out to everything. Like it's very, yeah, I'm getting bored of seeing the same 5 or 6 Japanese players get blown out to everything. But then that raised the interesting question of like, whose job is it to get X players to come to their events? And in my opinion, I think it's like I said earlier, like your region should rally behind one of your own getting on a compendium. And I feel like because like just because of how the compendium, like because of how 2GG's like works, like I feel like they're not used to having to send their own somewhere.
Well, yeah,
So,
it's totally the reverse, but like seeing it in practice, which was basically that one time Smash Sounds,
Right.
was it worked out, like it looks like it would work. I think the real issue is essentially getting each region recognizable enough to people knowing to like where to find them and how to fund them.
Yeah, I feel like, and I think the problem with SoCal is that I think SoCal might be too big of a region for them to rally behind like 2 or 3 guys. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. California's huge in general.
I guess in a way, like the smart thing about 2GG doing the sagas is that the sagas always have a different theme, and therefore you have different players that are usually on the compendiums and stuff. So like if it's not a themed saga, if for example like Smash Sounds was a New York thing, it's like let's say they did one in Boston and they did one in New York and they did one like somewhere else, you're probably going to see the same top like 2GG players getting funded, and because they're the most popular. And
Yep.
like if you do a theme tournament, that changes who's going to be on there. So obviously if it's a Zelda tournament, only Zelda mains are going to go. So
Right.
I think it's interesting. I wonder like how this is going to move in the future, because
Well, that's what I'm saying. There's some pretty big implications. Like, there's a lot of stuff that can happen with this, and I think it's a matter of being creative and then basically being vocal about it.
Yep.
And like, I think what I'm getting into might be a totally different topic, but like, there are ways in which it can work. Smash GG is one platform, which is one we've been talking about, and then I guess more commonly, I've seen GoFundMe's get available. And for anyone unfamiliar, GoFundMe is basically it's like, okay, so you have a certain threshold of money you need, like let's just call it $5,000 for the sake of just a number.
Right.
And once you meet that, you're able to do your goal. And then there's other platforms. There's things like Patreon, which I'm a personal fan of, where you're essentially getting people to pay you per month, and it's basically on tiers. So if you pay X amount of dollars, you get access to this tier, and then if you pay Y amount of dollars, then you get a tier up. Z amount of dollars, another tier up. And there's sort of like, it turns into like a monthly income. And for like any kind of normal job or money making vehicle, monthly income translates into sort of like a salary. So you'll see a lot of creators use it to release content.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of the beauty about the crowdfunding stuff, because like I feel like people want like some sort of a takeaway from it, because I've seen, like, I've been going to tournaments for years with like certain incentives for if you donate. Like obviously the most common one is like, oh, you'll get a t-shirt. Like I've gotten like 5 or 6 sweatshirts from all the tournaments that I've gone to and I've donated to. And like I've seen some as outlandish as like, oh, you could have lunch with Gimmer. or like they'll offer some like outlandish thing, and people will donate for it. Like I think people just want that connection sometimes, and I feel like Patreon works more like that works better in kind of like the long term stuff, where I feel like compendiums and GoFundMe's work more like are better suited in like the microwave sense, where like you're getting immediate bang for your buck. Like I think I got a sweatshirt for donating to get Glenn to Hyrule Saga, or like all that other stuff. So like, I feel like obviously there's different levels to it, but I feel like I love Patreon as a platform. Like I feel like without getting too much into like the rabbit hole of this one, I feel like Patreon kind of gets like a bad reputation, but it's generally good if you want to create content of some sort. So.
And basically it's a monthly amount of money's worth to spend, and I think that's something that.
Well, I know.
Go ahead.
I was saying, well, I know that some options are like you pay per like product. It's like, all right, it's not per month, it's like per video, because I only do a video like every like 2 months. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
as long as I keep putting out videos, you get the content.
So I guess the way I see it too is something like Patreon. I guess like there's a lot of ways it can be used, but like basically let's just say you raise enough money to hire a video editor. So like let's just say in the sense of like, I don't know, any kind of YouTuber, or even like a video game streamer, like even like an MHG. Like let's just say I drove in an additional $200 a month, which would allow me enough money to pay a video editor without.
And you still can't pay me?
Well, right. So how about this? So then for like
breaking news
for $300,
That's okay.
For $300, you ensure good commentary for the next few casts that you have, which is a big difference. Right. There you go. So like the idea is like to use it creatively, and like and then at some point you raise enough money where you could take one of your players that your scene votes on. And you could do this within Patreon, where you essentially vote that maybe we want Jackal to go to GTX, or we want James to go to the Midwest, or we want anyone to go anywhere.
I think that's a really brilliant idea, because I think that like there is a lot of untapped money and untapped like goodwill in the community, and
I agree.
We just need to do a better job of organizing it and centralizing it. And when I for example, with the compendium. When I see someone that we know who's on the compendium, and I see how people get behind those people, whether it be me or Biddy or, anybody else who's won a compendium before, like you do see that there's so much energy in the community. And it's just, if we can kind of organize that, we could probably do, like you're saying, we could do so much more stuff, and the community will benefit even more. So much of like the issues of growing the Smash community come down to like time and funding. And if we did organize something like that, people would be super happy with like supporting their community and getting more out of it.
Well, yeah, I think the money actually goes somewhere, right? So I look at it like this, and it's the same as how I look at tournaments. As far as like a player or even someone watching, and this, I don't want to digress too much into this. This is actually a topic I have talked about, and I would love to talk about again in one of these. But you have like very finite ways of investing in your scene. There's two ways basically. Like your time and your attention. I'm sorry, your time and your money are the two things. Right. So it's like you could actually give money, which we've seen people do, for whether it's your buddy traveling or attending a tournament or adding to a pot bonus, and then there's your actual time with your views, your shares, your actual time at the tournaments, like that. Those are your two ways of growing your scene. So if there were some more goals beyond just getting people to travel and represent, like the locals, like there is really some stuff that could be done, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think now is like a good time for us to talk about that, or start making moves if one of us is going to do that, because the game is only I remember, I think it was Charlie just posted a tweet about like, he put in quotes like, oh, Smash 4 is dying, right? And then he posted the tournament entrance for like the last few tournaments, and the numbers are like still very, very big. And it's like, the scene, I think, is only going to get bigger when Ultimate comes out. Like, we're at the tail end of Smash 4 and we still have pretty good numbers. And the Switch is just a way more popular console than the Wii U was. This new game is, I imagine, going to be way more popular. And the scene, I imagine, just esports in general, they're going to get bigger. So, this is like really smart stuff for all of us as a community to like think about and get on top of, because Like we could grow this. Like there's gonna be so many new players. Like when Ultimate comes out, it's gonna be insane. Like I'm already preparing myself to be that old grumpy brawl guy that I used to make fun of. Like in the brawl days, that wouldn't work. And like I'm gonna be the Smash 4 guy. Oh yeah, Smash 4. That would never have worked in Smash 4 and just make
Dude, I'm already grumpy.
Yeah, like we're all gonna be like old men in this community. There's gonna be so many new people. Like you need to like
exactly right. So then like you guys are at the core of it now, and I could speak to this as someone who's a little older for the scene now, and like kind of have invested a lot, mostly because like for me as a adult, it's unrealistic for me to be like I'm going to become the best Mega Man in the world and I'm going to place at all these tournaments. Like there's just a certain point where it's not a sustainable venture. So like but like I'm also really into it, and I think it's awesome to see other people do that stuff. And it's really fun, especially when you know those people. And that's sports in a nutshell, right? Like your local hometown heroes. You see them do well, and everybody parties when they do well, and it's a really cool time. That's how sports works.
Yep.
So like when you think about
it, I won.
Yeah, I am the winner.
Wait, small like when James was playing Como, like honestly, me, Hungry, and Riz and Kyle were all watching this together. Like it was the most hype thing to watch. Like James in top 8 beating Como, like that was amazing. And like that feeling of your hometown dude, like that's the best feeling in the world.
I think that was a qualifier.
I used to make fun of like how people will represent or like talk about their team for baseball or like whatever. It's like, oh yeah, like you don't even know any of the players, but because you're from a certain state, you're gonna root for them. And now I completely get it. Like if I see one of the dudes that we are all friends with and they're, in top 16 or top 8, like that's a feeling that's amazing. Watching Jackal beat MKLeo was insane. Like that's one of the most insane things I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, I cried a lot.
Well, it is. It's a big source of like it's a big source of just like emotions and excitement. That's the whole idea, and that's really what drives sports.
Why did you show the game that he lost?
I thought that's what we're just gonna let this ride out because it was just sitting neutral screen anyways. It'll be more epic. It's more epic this way.
That's funny.
My God, look at James, you lost. Oh my God! But then like he wins, and then it's like, oh, look at that, James won. Hype.
I forgot how bad the mustache was. Thank God we got.
Man, it's gone.
It's gone, dude. It was a worthwhile venture.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think obviously crowdsourcing has like. But I do want to applaud like.
Wait, you're cutting out. You're cutting out just a little bit. Who do you want to applaud?
SCR.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah. Well, just because the compendium was very like interesting.
It was interesting, and that like we were just talking about this a little bit before the call, where basically 2GG did a lot of the funding that we usually see them do to get players there, but essentially they were funding the retro characters, including Pac-Man. Who else is on there? Game & Watch, Palutena, Pit, Little Mac, and that was basically their target, and that dictated the results for the tournament. Because was there even a Bayonet in the top 8?
Oh wow, yeah, I actually don't know.
I don't think there was one.
Obviously, yeah, it was those Little Macs and Pac-Mans. That's all I heard about, and Duck Hunts.
Yeah,
like, Duck
Hunt.
All the headlines were around those characters. Like amazing.
Yeah.
And like you think about the implications of that, the SoCal regionals, that's what SCR is, the Southern California regionals. Like 2GG, I don't think it was really their event as much as they just like handled the Smash part. I might be wrong about that, but
I'm pretty sure it's not a 2GG thing.
Right.
But
they
don't do Street Fighter or Tekken and stuff like that. And that was part of it.
But yet their namesake still allows them to crowdfund and get significant donations from people all over. Like we said earlier, that 2 New Jersey players, a combined total of $1,200 raised for those guys to travel. And then that's not, then you have all the other states and all the other characters. Like that's a lot of money going to players traveling.
That's actually a really good point that I didn't even think about until just now. It's like, that's insane that 2GG is the biggest tournament organizers in the world probably, and another tournament in their backyard did an amazing job with running their regional and funding players. So like again, to your point of earlier, like it really does show that there's so much untapped potential here. Like if they can do it in their backyard, imagine what you could do in places where we don't have a giant conglomerate like that already.
So that's the idea. You build up a few of those per region, and then if you want to know how like sports really works, then you have things like divisions, you have leagues, you have conferences, and then that's essentially how it runs. Like for anyone who wants to know like how a real esport runs, like you look at Overwatch, the way you get an Overwatch team is by giving a very generous upfront payment of $20 million. And that
Wow.
$20 million goes towards building up a stadium, basically getting the staff in the stadium, casters, stuff like that, and that's basically how it works. And like unless you have $20 million, you can't be involved in Overwatch. There's some other leagues and stuff, but like
You're talking
that's
about
it.
from the tournament organizer perspective?
So like just in general, so if you want an Overwatch team, like let's just say there's already one in New York, but like if you want to start one in a city, the Overwatch League could be like, okay, we're in, but you have to give us this money so that way we could help you set up your infrastructure, aka a stadium, aka like casters in the area that can run the streams, and then like getting casters out just to actually cast the tournaments, getting the teams there. Like there's a lot to it, but
Right.
obviously private money is private money, so it's kind of easy to do. But like if you did it on a smaller scale, where you essentially built like maybe not a stadium, but a venue per region that just makes sense. I'm not sure what it would look like, but the point is like with a little bit of collaboration and a little bit of like communication, it could work. It's making everyone happy and making everyone feel like they have control over their own areas. That is the one thing I would say is probably the most important part.
So, real quick, Chris, how much money did you say that was again?
How much money for Overwatch League?
Yeah.
20 million.
Okay, now Glenn, how much was your funding to get to Hyrule Saga again?
It was, I believe, like $800.
Okay, so if we divide that money by 800, we could send you to Hyrule Saga like 5,000 times or whatever.
Yeah, that's not a good idea.
I don't know what you're talking about. I think that's a great idea.
It's just such a small scale, man. It really does. I think about it all the time. I think it's crazy. And a lot of people get so excited to advertise and stuff like this. Like even Jelly Belly on 2GG stream, like they're stoked to advertise their jelly beans on 2GG because they have the attention there, right? So like those are the things that happen. But 2GG, like all they're really doing is just crowdsourcing. That's how they got the attention. And then that brings in sponsors. So like if you just had a steady places to know that your money is going to actually go towards getting players from point A to point B, or to developing a good tournament in your own backyard to host people at, like those are, I guess, causes you could get behind. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
I think that makes a lot of sense. Like I think another challenge is like this would also help with one of the biggest things I've noticed from talking to people like you guys who have run events, like, and also people who have run events up north. Like the biggest challenge is like, when you try to run a local and you're trying to find a venue, especially in North Jersey, like the prices are insane. So it's like that's one of the biggest things. Like I remember people saying how North Jersey was really dry on locals for a while. And our closest local at one point of time was like 45 minutes away. And like, there are a lot of geographical challenges to our area. Like, it's just inherently a little harder to find parking, and like, there's a lot more traffic and stuff. But like, just finding a venue can be so difficult because of how expensive the venues would be. And then how much money, you can't charge $40 for a tournament entrant. So, people helping each other out and like having an entire state come together like that would probably help that part of it too, where it would be easier maybe to fund a great local and have all the amenities that you expect from a local.
Yeah, I think honestly, if you want to know my opinion, I think that's the future for Smash. Part of me feels like Nintendo knows this a little bit. They've seen people willing to donate, and they're obviously going to sponsor events. And even like something like Overwatch, which I actually see our good buddy ML pointed out in the chat, where even Overwatch League, something as big as that even has all that money behind it and is still sort of like finding its own identity, like that gets a lot of help from pro sport leagues. There's a lot of like pro sports people, like whether it be owners of basketball teams, baseball teams, football, whatever, or even players, you'll see invest in an eSport team. And this actually does go back to what we were talking about last week with sponsorships. If you guys missed that, you could go ahead and find that on YouTube. You can find the VOD. But Yeah, there's a lot of help there financially, and there's just so much to build on where you do need like a kind of like an obscene amount of money to make it work.
Oh,
Yeah.
you know what? I do have one more thing I don't want to forget to mention.
Sure.
While we're talking about people who are supporting the community and like the amount of money that it takes and all that, like we have, especially in the Jersey Smash scene, like we have so many people who are big names. So obviously we have players like James and stuff. Koopa's a big caster. Gunblade was a big caster. Max Ketchum's a big caster. And then obviously there's Nairo. And like I can't say enough about how much money like Nairo has given to tournaments. Some of the tournaments Nairo has given money to have not even been in Jersey. Like I'm pretty sure that he gave like some amount of money to like an NDVA like regional, that we went to.
Oh yeah.
So it's like
it was the last
people
Xanadu.
like that are really important to the scene too. And like we got to remember that there again, it's just that thing of like there's so many resources that we can organize. We have people like that.
Yeah, the people are out there. It's a matter, I think, of getting them all kind of organized and thinking that the cause is good. And I think a big part of getting a good cause is getting as many people involved and getting, essentially just putting out quality events with the funding or just, good traveling with the however we want to manage it. But yeah, there's definitely ways that this can work in my mind. Nintendo and like oh yeah right, so there can be different leagues too, like for example, like any kind of Nintendo sponsored event, you kind of have your world leagues. There could also be like kind of like there like Overwatch, there's like the main Overwatch league, and then there's like a few other leagues. There's like a Masters league. There's like there can be levels of leagues to which everyone can sort of have enough like quote unquote work to have and sort of like work with one another. Like there are so many ways that this can go.
Yeah, there's I forget how 2GG does it, but I know they do their like college division stuff with like different leagues or whatever.
Oh, CSL. That's another good point. That's
yeah.
Yep. I don't know if it's 2GG or
some...
not, but CSL is doing a similar thing.
No, I think 2GG does something like specific with theirs, but like you see that type of stuff with like most tournaments. Like obviously the Nintendo run tournaments have their own like divisions of stuff, but yeah, just adding all into what you guys were saying, like to wrap it all up as a bunch. I do want to bring up that I think James brought this up around the time of the Arcadian, but Nairo has donated, I think it's like over $1,000 the last year to our local tournaments.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so much.
Yeah, that's like that's a lot of money, but again, that's awesome. And
not every region
think
has a Nairo, and so Chris's point is even more valid for those communities where it's like you don't have a player like that who's going to give $1,000 like over the course of a year. Then as a community, you guys really can get together and do similar things, just with more people involved.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just about working together. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, but just to like finish my point, I feel like a lot of these things are achievable. Like, it just depends on how Nintendo's going to treat like the competitive scene moving forward. Because I was actually listening to a podcast earlier this week that said that Nintendo is constantly changing their stance on how they feel about like the competitive scene, and like I don't know if that'll ever be like fully 100% embraced, but I feel like a lot of the problems with crowdfunding, be it like problems with players having to like not having their best players always ready and present, could be deemed as like a marketing problem. But I feel like a lot of that stuff can be fixed if Nintendo like embraces the competitive scene a little bit harder, which they have been for the most part. Like I've seen a lot more Smash Ultimate invitationals than I remember like Smash Wii U and 3DS invitationals. So I feel like we're making progress to the to get to that place. And before I was rudely interrupted by a baby cutting out my connection, because spoiler, I'm on my phone now. What's it called? I was saying how like I applauded SER Saga for at least like having like a very unique like take on the compendium, like with how they were kind of shoehorning the retro characters into something, which is cool.
Yeah, it makes sense, and it definitely dictated the tournament. That might actually be a good place to end it. We could just kind of jump in the SCR and tournament roundup for the Tristate and whatever else may have happened this past week. And I think SCR is mostly it, though.
Yeah, that's it for big stuff outside of just the stuff that happened in the area.
Yeah, so this event, SCR, we mentioned it a little earlier, and we're going to change the focus now to tournaments. Basically, like, so all these retro characters or players of retro characters get funded to come to this event. And this is just like a regular regional, but essentially the compendium was for the retro characters themselves. So it ended up having big implications on the top 8. Not a single Bayonetta, and the common theme I've been saying it every week, because I've noticed that most majors you see or regionals or anything of that nature, you see 3 at minimum, usually 4 Bayonettas in some shape or form.
Yeah.
And this time, I think there was like 2 Duck Hunts, 2 Pac-Man, maybe like a Little Mac, like pretty nuts. And
it was Luigi, 2 Duck Hunts, a Pac-Man, a Little Mac, a Fox, a Rob, and a Ness.
Who left that Fox in there?
Damn him.
but in either case, like it's actually probably good that he was in there. Otherwise, it would actually be really weird. But in either case, it's like, I don't know, man. Like that's like, you could kind of like dictate how a tournament's gonna turn out almost on that. And the nice part about the retro players is like, or retro character players, is that those guys don't usually pick up a top tier ever. Glenn mentioned this earlier. They just have so much pride in like the gameplay they've created for their like otherwise bad character. Where, oh my God, you guys, I know you're a little delayed, but that uppercut, or sure you Elegant just got on like a laggy Pac-Man grab was terrible.
I didn't watch the set, but according to the Smash GG, Raito switched to Lucina versus Tomoshika, another Duck Hunt.
Oh wow!
And he still ended up losing.
Wow,
crazy.
It's like a funny thing I always say. Like, people always like main the low tier, and then like, oh yeah, but I play Bayo for the bad matchups.
Yeah,
like just play Bayo.
I have a pocket top tier
for this one matchup.
Yeah,
I'm really good in a fist fight, but I carry the switchblade just in case.
Yeah, I have a bazooka.
But... Yeah, that's actually better. I do have a gun.
Yeah, but I think what was really cool about this top 8, and just I don't know if you guys talked about this and when I was trying to get my connection sorted out, but I think the big problem that happens with compendiums, I think Glenn brought it up briefly, is that you're not always going to fly out the best players. You're just going to fly out the people that I think campaign for themselves the hardest, the people that want to be there, like alongside the faces of whatever that theme may be. And what's really cool is that a lot of the players that got flown out for this event ended up making it into the top 8, which isn't always necessarily the case with people that make it on the compendium. Like, obviously, there's not everybody's going to make it like super far in bracket, obviously, but like, you always look at like the top representative, and I think like I'm using like Greninja Saga as an example. Like the best place in Greninja got like 13th or whatever. Or like it's very rare where you see like a player like T or a player like what was the Little Max name again? I forget.
Yamato.
Yeah, Yamato. Tomato. Yamato. But like
tomato potato.
Yeah.
Potato.
Shout out to Fruit, who got 33rd and tying out of like 150, I think, and tying with TLTC, who's like considered the best Palutena. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, dude. That's awesome. And I want to say that like, was that you, Hungry?
What?
Were you gonna say something?
No, you're good. Go for it.
Okay. Yeah, well, I was just gonna say like, shout outs to like Fruit and AC Menez, who I think AC made it like super close to making top 64. I think he just actually got 65th. Now that I think about it, but like Fruit and AC definitely did really well. And I know there's always gonna be shitters with this type of stuff, and I think it's important to not let those people get to you, because the same like 3 people always complain about the compendiums, like I was saying earlier. But shout outs to like players like T and Yamoto, and who are doing really, really well. Like I only watched a handful of sets from SCR, and one of them was Yamoto versus Fallen, and that match was really slow paced, but it was really exciting because Fallen lost in like what I imagine is an 8-2 matchup, and that's kind of the stuff that you hope for when you fly out people like this.
From what I heard from other Little Macs, it's not really all that bad. Like, you could really kill really easily, and this advantage is really bad for Rosa. All I'm saying. I wasn't 100% surprised.
All I'm saying is watching Little Mac camp on the Smashville platform was so anxiety ridden. I had to watch the last 2 games from the bathroom because I was so like taken over with stress.
I do want to make a slight correction, by the way. Like, I'm looking at I wanted to check this because when we were talking earlier about how there weren't any Bayonettas in top 8, that actually was more just because a lot of the Bayonetta players didn't go to this tournament. Because like if you look at the actual standings, like I'm looking through it right now, and like in top 50, I don't even recognize a single Bayonetta main. There probably was one or two like pocket Bayos there, but by and large, there weren't that many Bayos there. So maybe that, you know, in a way, that almost speaks to how cool it is when Bayonetta doesn't show up, is you get these more interesting top 8s.
Yeah,
But
I think SoCal in general doesn't really have a Bayo outside of Charlie, to my knowledge. So, and
Right.
even his is a stretch because he obviously co-mains Fox, or I don't know if he's like switched back and forth between the two or not, but yeah, Bayo isn't really prevalent over there. And like Glenn just said, like it was really refreshing to watch. Like I think it was one of my friends tweeted a clip, but like he was like, look how like the level of uh like chess that Raito and T were playing. He was like, he's making stalling look cool. Like that. To be fair, he was like, I think this is like probably some of the best Pac-Man play I've ever seen. Like T's always been one of those players you hear about, like from the distance. It's like, oh yeah, this guy's really good. And then, sure enough, like he walks a walk and talks a talks, and got second, which was really.
You know
cool.
what? I really need T to fight T, and whoever wins can keep the tag. I need whoever wins to keep that tag, because I don't know who we're talking about. Sometimes I'm like, Link, and it's like, no, it's this other guy named T, and it's TEA.
That is confusing.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if it was pronounced T or Taya. I've heard it done both, but I don't want to be the ignorant one in the podcast because that's usually what I end up being sometimes. So, yeah, tournament was cool. I thought SCR was a lot of fun.
It was fun to watch. It was definitely, if anything, it was very different than most tournaments we've seen, especially in recent time. That's for sure. But I guess leaving crowdsourcing totally behind and getting off of SCR, we did have some stuff happen in the Tristate as well this weekend.
Yeah.
Or this past week in general. So let's see. I'm actually going to look through the results now. And for all of you who don't know this by now, if you go down below the stream, if you're watching live, you could find a link to our Discord, the MHG public Discord server. It's also doubles as like the NJ Discord server. I essentially put in all of the results from Tri-State of the past week as they happen. So if you're interested in the results of Tri-State in particular, you could find all of them listed almost in order as they happen. So I guess last Wednesday, we had a Xeno, as always, which we will be hosting them quite soon after this. And it looks like another win for Mr. E. And yeah, let's see. Speaking of Pac-Man, Sinji getting third. Very familiar second place to Dill. Let's see. I'm trying to look what this bracket looked like in general. Hold up. I'm just pulling it up on the screen here now. But yeah, New York had a couple events because they also had a Smash Attack over the weekend, which did have a couple New Jersey guys there as well.
I was surprised because I thought they did the final Smash Attack already. So
it's funny you mentioned. This is the funniest thing ever. I love when this comes up. So apparently Final Smash Attack is the name of the tournament. So it's like everyone is the last one, but it's themed off of like Final Smash, not like the final.
Oh,
Smash
so
Attack.
that's just the name?
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow. That's the greatest mix-up. That's the greatest mix-up in Smash history.
Dude, it is.
Yeah.
I am so mixed right now.
I feel like the glass just shattered in your brain right now.
Dude, I was like, wait, what? Well, like, it's funny because a lot of people have done, like, we don't have to get into details, but a lot of people have done final events and then it ends up not being final event.
Oh
So
yeah,
I
we've seen
just thought, like, oh boy, here we go. There's another event where you got everyone to go by saying it was the last one, and then it wasn't. That's what I thought of it. But yeah, it makes it's I guess I'm glad to hear that that's not the case. That was just the name of that one big event they did.
I'm pretty sure I've seen James's last weekly at Spectrum at least 4 times.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
You gotta milk that shit.
I'm pretty sure I've seen that.
yeah, that's true. Actually, we gotta hold you to that, James. They shouldn't let him enter. He can show up, but you already said it was your last one, bro.
But hey, staying in New York here, I'm gonna jump to Aeon just because their weekly is the most stacked weekly with 3 PGR players in top 3 every week. With DeBuzz taking the edge this week, Vinny coming in second, and Mr. E in third. I guess really not much new there. Even Stocktaker getting his 5th place.
I think last week, I'm pretty sure it was last week, DeBuzz actually lost to Mr. E. I remember Mr. E won.
I might have the wrong bracket. I feel like these brackets look the same every week.
Yeah,
I mean,
I
they
know
probably are, to be honest
one of
with
the
you.
recent ones. I remember just seeing that DeBuzz actually didn't win it, and I think
No,
Mr.
that was
Yeah.
last week.
Here, I got an idea. Let's just go to. Let's see here.
Behind the scenes.
Color me surprised. Let's see. We're not looking for rivals. Not Project M. Not Melee. There we go. Is that? No, that's not it.
No, I think you have the right bracket.
no, that's the right one. DeBuzz wins. DeBuzz wins. Vinny gets second. I think. Let me see.
Yeah,
I'm gonna look.
Feel like...
The week before, it was Mr. E won. DeBuzz got second, and Vinny third.
Right.
Yep.
That's what happens. Right.
Yeah, and I feel like that. I feel like any combination of these three will probably be like your top three for the most part. Like Vinny very regularly holds it down at the weeklies when DeBuzz and Mr. E aren't there, because I think like the most competition he usually has is like Jay sometimes for the most part, who played a part in Jersey's run at Smash Attack this weekend because he beat Jude. Poor guy.
Yeah, Jude actually had a little bit of a rough weekend, but not focusing on them. I will mention, I'll give a shout out to Jack, who did make it out to Smash Attack with Jude. Ended up, I think, 7th, if I'm recalling correctly.
Yeah,
I think you're right.
Let's see here, trying to find that. There it is. Oh, nope, that's not it.
Yeah, Jack posted a really funny clip of him playing Venia where he was like, I forget what it was. He was like the duality of Falcon, and he gets like comboed to bits, and then he dies. And then he grabs Venia, down throws him, and knees him, and then he dies. And I was like, yeah, that sounds about right.
sounds about Captain Falcon.
Yeah. I gotta say, like, I really wish more people cared about commentary at a local level, because there's been multiple Xenos where I've tuned into this week, and like I watched the first part of Smash Attack where there's just no commentary, and it's just like really sad and awkward.
Well, I do know that Smash Attack in particular had a little bit of a low turnout, and this might just be Sunday tournaments. I'm kind of hoping it's not entirely, since we do have a Sunday monthly coming up soon.
Yeah, I feel like what's rough about, I mean, it's like we said last week, it's the school year. It kind of cripples TOs to where you guys kind of have to work with what you have.
Especially the beginning of the year, where everyone's kind of displaced and where they should be in terms of if they go away to school, they're already at school, or whatever the case may be.
Yep. But yeah, Smash Attack Grand Finals definitely paid off, because Mr. E ended up winning after, I think he reversed 3-0'd.
It was a kind of a heartbreak, man. The way let me see. I'll fast forward to the end here. The way Venia lost, it was a really tight set. I was definitely a little bit clenched watching it.
Moderately clenched.
Moderately clenched, I think is the best way to put that. But in either case, Venia just he plays well in this venue, because I remember at the Invitational, which was also in the same Smash Attack venue, I think what did he get at that Invitational? I think he got
5th.
Yeah, he did. Either way, he did.
Yeah.
I think above what he was projected to do.
Which is really sad, because it's like he beat Nairo, and then he lost to Nairo, and he got 5th place for doing that. That's insane.
That feels really bad.
That's like a crazy, like, damn, that just sucks.
Yeah, he lost to Jude in winners, and he lost to Nairo in losers. But yeah, Benny is so good, man. Like, I love watching him play, and it's just a shame that he doesn't get to go out more often than he does, just because he's so good at like playing Greninja.
He's got a certain mindset that I really enjoy. He's just kind of like a no BS kind of guy. He'll tell you how it is from what I can tell. I remember him calling out his Xeno win a few weeks ago, and then him actually winning. Like that's really cool, man. That's like a certain level of focus that you get, and like I don't know, I definitely respect the shit out of that. But
yeah, he's a scary player.
Yeah, my nuts are not that big to where I could like call my shot like that.
Yeah, man, dude's good. I'm still waiting for this to end. This was like the most heartbreaking way to lose a set. I think it's coming up in a moment. You guys, yep, there it is. You'll see it in a couple seconds, but. He even made the camera cut out. But anyways, yeah, so that was New York this past week. Mr. E in 3 different top 3s, which is pretty common these days. He's been going out a lot.
That's gas money, baby. Ooh, Jesus, that sucks.
Yeah, right. Yeah, just a F smash on the ledge, man. That's it.
I'm also happy for him, because I remember there was a period, like, I don't want to say like recently, but there was definitely a period where he was at like a really high point, and then he kind of dipped, and his results weren't as good as they used to be. And I was always like, man, he's such a good player. Like every time I play him, it's like it's really difficult to even push a button. I feel like I'm in just hit stun until I die. And then now he's back and he's just like destroying everyone. So people forget, like I'm pretty sure Mr. E took a set off 0 back in the day, like 2 years ago. You know, Mr. E is really good.
Yeah, he's really good.
And that matchup is really, really hard. It's really bad for Marth. So
yeah, it's actually funny you mentioned that. Like, just a quick tangent about that, because it was around the same summer where Mr. E beat 0, and then I think it was at like the first Matchadelphia, he had to play Blaziken, and he almost lost. And he was like, "Yo, man, that matchup is hard still." I'm just like, bro.
Yeah.
But yeah. So speaking of resurgences, 6WX claiming his first place over Juice. He had like. I don't know when the last time this happened was, because Juice has been beating 6. He is above him on the PR most recently.
Was the last time at Radiance?
Did it happen there? I don't recall.
I think they played each other in grand finals.
What tournament are we referring to right now?
This is Bears. The last week's We Bear Bears 153, which I believe was round robin pools, if I'm not mistaken. I might be mistaken, but let me check that out, actually. But in either case, yeah, so 6 getting first, Juice coming in second, and Uno in third. That's kind of neat. For anyone who doesn't know Uno, he is 6WX's brother.
Right.
You'll see those guys playing doubles successfully quite often.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think when he loses to, or like when 6 beats Uno, they like bullies him on the ride home? Like,
oh, wow. It looks like, I'm looking at the bracket right now, it looks like Uno beat 6 in quarters, winners quarters.
Wow.
It was a 2-0 at that.
Oh, wow. Well,
that's kind of cool.
My mom said it's my turn to win the matchup.
Yeah, and then 6 just making his run through losers, of course. Actually beating Uno in losers finals, 3-1. Wow, he went Mega Man and Roy. Dude, this is really cool. I should be tracking these stats every match too. I'm gonna have to shout outs to Moosh or whoever's doing this, maybe Summer Hayes, but this is cool. Wow, yeah, he went Roy, Mega Man, Palutena.
Huh.
And
wow.
Uno was playing Dr. Mario and Jigglypuff. I guess these guys probably play a lot, huh?
I would assume so. Ugh, just like 6 playing Mega Man is like really funny, because he's just like one third-party character away from being that guy.
Oh my God, you're right.
Being that guy.
You're right.
It's basically going full Edwin.
Yeah, I guess so. Rip Edwin, man.
Yeah, shout outs to Law, who did really well at that tournament we just saw.
Yep.
Let's see, and then of course we do have our very nice New Jersey weekly here, holding it down. Spectrum Smash. Gonz getting the first again. I don't. It's so weird, man. I feel like Gonz will not get first for a while, but like he's usually always top 3. But taking this week over Law, actually.
It was last week where Biddy won, I think, right?
Yep, he got 4th this past week.
Right, cool.
And Delta getting his designated 5th place. That's basically just a staple at this point.
Nice.
Good for him. And Lemon Tea climbing the ranks. I guess he must have beat Biddy for 3rd place.
Yeah.
Yeah, looks like it.
I'm guessing Fox Toon Link is not a very fun time.
Here's the thing. So like, it's actually okay. So it's definitely not a good matchup for Toon Link. I personally think Toon Link loses really bad, but a lot of Toon Links like fighting Fox, and like, especially when the Fox is new to the matchup or isn't super experienced in it, like Toon Link will give him some trouble at first, at least. But once the Fox figures out the matchup, like it's like impossible. Like you're gonna just be in hit stun until you die. But yeah, I know Biddy in particular really likes fighting Fox. He's done well against a lot of Fox players, so he's good at the matchup.
Fun fact: I've been trying to talk this whole time. Did not have the mic on.
Let's go.
Why isn't anyone listening to me?
I was being so rude.
Acknowledge me.
Oh man,
it's like in real life.
Well, welcome back. We're actually just getting back to the fun stuff. We're pretty much off of tournaments now. We are going to talk finally about Isabelle being in Smash Brothers, because that's what we saw last week in the direct.
All right. First things first. I want to get this off my chest right now. If you want to fuck Isabelle, you're weird.
Oh God.
I'm with you. There's a few levels of that one. Yeah.
Like
All those fucking weird.
yeah, like I think it was Parappa, who's like the Bowser Jr. man from MDVA. Like he made a really funny video about it, and he's like, all y'all is a booty hole motherfuckers are on my suspect list. And that's exactly, and I echo those sentiments. But
It's like, bro,
yeah,
I'm still a kid.
I'm gonna be
Yeah.
honest with you guys. I'm gonna be completely 100% honest. When I saw all like the Isabelle like lewds and stuff, I was not surprised at all because I'm not really an anime guy, and so all of like the sexualized anime stuff that I see all day is already weird enough. So seeing fucking people into Isabelle was not that surprising to me. Like already, I was like, yeah, it's a fictional character, and people are already jizzing about fictional characters as it is. So I was not that surprised.
Super agree.
yeah.
I'm not surprised. I'm just like, why is it like okay right now?
People are like proudly and openly talking about this. Is pretty funny.
So
Yeah.
the thing is, a lot of people were a little bit tight about this. Didn't really love seeing Isabelle get in Smash. But like, I have the trailer on right now, and for anyone who didn't see it, you know, if you're watching and not listening, it kind of baits you. Like, you had a feeling that this would be a Smash character, just because you figured they would do a Smash release, and this was at the very end of the Direct. But they also like released a new game, right? So like that was the focus for Nintendo. They created a new Animal Crossing game, and they're like, hey, guess what? We're also giving you a character.
Yeah.
Which is pretty great. I think that's like a really cool format. Like, not every character has to be like a Simon or Richter or Ridley. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Like,
Well,
this is
the
still a
funny
pretty
thing
cool
is, like-
release as far as I'm concerned.
The funny thing is, like for Smash 4, it was like, why are there all these like swordsman RPG characters in Smash now? Like it's so stupid. And now everyone's asking for swordsman RPG characters. And then you have like PC character and was like, what the fuck? Where's my swordsman RPG character?
Yeah.
The irony.
So really, before you say anything, Glenn, I just want to say I rewatched last week's podcast in preparation for this, and I did say that if they showed a Smash character in this Direct, it was going to tie into something bigger to what Nintendo was doing. And technically, I was right, because right as the trailer was ended, everybody finally got their wish, and the pentagrams of Isabelle and Animal Crossing merchandise finally like came to fruition. Where we did get the Animal Crossing announcement at the end of the Direct, which made me very happy.
I want to know how
Yeah.
many people were baited into thinking Tom Nook might be an Echo Fighter.
Oh, wait. I have a good story about that. So I was actually out at like a party when the Direct was on. And so every now and then I would just like, I had my phone in my breast pocket of my suit, and I would like pull it out just to see where in the Direct we were at. And I would just look at it like really sparingly. Right. So then I finally see like, okay, the guy says there's one more announcement and to look until the very end, which stuck out to me. Like he said, you know, wait until the end of the announcement, you know? So I'm watching and I see Isabelle and I'm like, okay, it's some Animal Crossing game. And then they show that pulls the letter out and says she's in Smash. And I'm like, oh my God, like really? And then I'm waiting there and my attention got pulled away to do something else. So I'm doing something else. And then I finally get to check my pocket again. And the stream had frozen in my pocket, but it froze right at the part where Tom Nook was looking at the computer screen. So I didn't see that it was an Animal Crossing announcement. I was like, oh my God, they put in Tom Nook too? Like, I legit thought both of them were in it just because he was there. But yeah, obviously it was just Isabelle.
Yeah.
Definitely bait.
Yeah. I think it's. I'm obviously like I think we could talk about the rest of the Direct stuff after we talk about Isabelle, but I am excited about a new Animal Crossing game. I'm not excited that Tom Nook has risen to power because all of our property taxes are going to go through the roof now.
Yeah, dude, we're gonna get bodied.
Yeah, but yeah. So I know I said earlier before we went live that we're all going to be very divided about Isabelle. I stand on the fence that I think it makes too much sense for Nintendo not to put Isabelle in, because the problem that Animal Crossing had for the longest time is that they lacked a mascot character that wasn't the villager. And like, even though New Leaf's only been out for like 6 years, which is actually crazy because the game came out in 2012, that it's been that long already. But Isabelle's kind of stepped in nicely as like the mascot and like the face of Animal Crossing. And I think it just makes, obviously, like Nintendo's all about celebrating, like, or Smash in general is about celebrating your mascot characters. And you know, the characters that best represent your franchise. And I think Isabelle fits that mold perfectly, like I just said. But I know some people stand on the direct opposite side of the fence, which is fine.
So
but
I actually have a lot of thoughts. Like we obviously have talked about this in private, so you guys already know I have a lot of feelings about this choice. So like on one side of the spectrum, like I'm a huge Animal Crossing fan, and like I have every game in the series, and like you know, it's not because I'm not a fan of Animal Crossing. I get why they went with this choice because like actually something I predicted a while ago was like they're not going to show. I felt like they were going to show a more modern quote unquote character, somebody who's more relevant now because like after Inklings, every character that they've shown pretty much has kind of like appealed to like the retro Nintendo fan and not necessarily like the new people. So like you had Ridley, who's like Metroid is kind of obscure, especially like to maybe the people who come into Nintendo like recently, you know, and because there haven't been any Metroid games. So Ridley's for that type of person. King K. Rool is for those type of people too. And then Simon Belmont is also like another retro pick. So I was like, okay, I feel like they're going to go with something modern. So I think that was smart for them to do that because it's diverse. And I kind of feel like Isabelle, she reminds me kind of like when we saw Wii Fit Trainer for Smash 4, where it's kind of like a diversity pick. It's like, you know, we have all these serious, like big characters like, you know, Ridley and Simon Belmont and stuff, and they're very dark and serious. And like, we kind of need a little bit of a lighter character. And I think that it makes perfect sense from that angle of it for diversity. But then when I saw the character trailer, I was a little disappointed because I felt like for this to be a full-on character and her moveset and playstyle looks so similar, just conceptually, to like Villager, it just feels like, I don't know, it doesn't feel like the most creative pick. It feels almost a little too like strategic. And you know, when you have two characters in a franchise and like they're both kind of similar, like they both have similar moves. Isabelle does have there's different things to her, but at the end of the day, she's still like, she's throwing items and, you know, the items go in a different direction this time. But I don't know. I felt like it was a little too similar to Villager when I saw the moveset. And that's why I was a little disappointed by that pick in particular.
I could understand that.
And also, like, going back to what you were saying of, like, Animal Crossing, you know, she has kind of been the mascot for, like, the recent Animal Crossing. But, like, KK Slider is, like, really the mascot. Like, he's on the cover of every game. Like, he's really the Animal Crossing mascot. So, I don't know. I felt like that would have been a cooler pick. But, you know, that's just me. Like, I know that this character does have a lot of fans. I just wanted to see something a little more, I guess, creative, you know?
Well, who's going to play music for us on Smashville on Saturdays?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. No, we'll get Dr. Shrimp to the comedy instead. Oh, wait, what did you say, Hungry?
Alfonso. Think it's me.
Yeah, but before I saw Crownless just say it in the chat that she's like the Roy to Marth, but Hungry said it kind of the same way, but that she's more like the Falco to like Villager's Fox. But I think I'll let Hungry take the floor on that because he hasn't said anything about it yet.
I was just gonna say, like, I was disappointed for like a different reason. Well, like, I don't know, like, first of all, I'm not an Animal Crossing fan. I don't like Fighting Villager, and I don't like Smashville, and I don't like Town City. There's a lot I don't like about Animal Crossing.
That's so funny. Wait, hold on. I never even thought about that. That's so funny. You never played the game. I mean, you have played it. You don't like it. And then you don't like the character.
I just ended up not liking it.
You don't like anything about that game. That's actually so funny.
Yeah, so, like, I saw Isabelle, and I'm like, all right, like, this is not for me. Like, this is like, not for me at all. Right?
I'm so disappointed.
And then I was looking at her moveset, right? And it's not Villager. Like, it's Villager, and it's not Villager. And I'm like, oh, so they got rid of all the things that make Villager really annoying to fight, a.k.a. what makes him good. Like, she doesn't have the bowling ball. She doesn't have the tree and the axe. And she doesn't have the sideways Lloyd rocket that, like, carries, like, Villager's, like, neutral. So I'm like, so what does this character do then? Is she just use bad? Like, so, like, she's not going to be – if she's not going to be good, I don't like her, like, because of the game, like, she's from. Like, what was the point of this character? Like, obviously, it's, like, it's just super not for me.
Yeah, it's just not for you.
But I super get it, though. Like, I wasn't, like, surprised at all.
Yeah.
I thought it was inevitable, like, that she was going to be in the game.
What if she's just a meme character like Jigglypuff, where you hold her shield down, she just explodes?
Yeah,
I,
that's kind of what I thought. I'm like, she's like the girlfriend character. Like Ridley's for the cool guys, and then that guy's girlfriend is gonna play Isabelle.
Yeah.
The one thing that oh wait, James, are you still there?
he literally just dropped out for a sec. I'm not.
Okay, cool. All right, I was gonna ask him about what he thought, but
You were like 2 seconds too late.
Bodied. But
No.
what was I gonna say? I was gonna say something. It's like there's a couple things that like, so I guess we can kind of move on to like what we saw from Isabelle in the trailers, because like Glenn said, like her moves might not be like her moves aren't or like very similar to villagers, but we obviously haven't seen all of them. I think the one saving grace to make Isabelle like a decent character is if there's less RNG on her moves, and she's just like a lot more like of a consistent character.
So no
like,
turn-ups, basically?
Yeah, or like if she has turn-ups that like, or she has like 2.5 turn-ups, but they do like a solid amount of damage or whatever. Like,
Have we
I think
seen her turn-ups? Is that her thing she
No.
has?
no, I don't think she does. We haven't seen her up or her down airs yet, because like
Yeah.
when I watched the trailers, yeah, so we don't know yet. But the one we did get a little bit of info like the day afterwards when they showed her character trailer, that like the way that the side B works, where it's like the way that they worded it, it sounds like it's just like she has 2 grabs. It's weird.
Yeah, that's like could be her thing though, because I know it works with the tether recovery. Like she grabbed the ledge with it, which is cool. And I know it's a command grab. So this move could be her saving grace. We'll see. If it's really good, she could be good. But if it's not good, I don't know.
Yeah,
We'll see.
I also think
At the
that
very least, it's like interesting. Like it's mechanically interesting.
yeah, I personally
I'm
like.
looking for that.
I also just want to emphasize that like it's so hard to even be disappointed with anything they do when they reveal these characters, because like already the fact that everyone is coming back, like that's like the smartest thing they ever did to announce the game with that messaging. So you're watching all these character reveals and you're not worried like, oh my God, is my character going to come back? And you're waiting for them to be revealed in these trailers. We can just enjoy all these characters and like, hey, Isabelle's not for me, but all the other characters they announced so far are. So I think it's still it's still amazing how they're rolling the game out.
Yeah, and I am gonna say one thing about Isabelle that I thought was cool that I missed the first time I watched, but in her character trailer, her nair actually jab locks. You see it for a split second, but it's when she hits. Yeah, it's when she's fighting Bowser. She hits him with the nair, and Bowser's already in like the free fall animation, and it locks him. Like,
the nair is the pom poms.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
And I think that's like really cool. Like the way that the trailer said how Isabelle works, that she just uses a lot of the trinkets that you see around town. So I hope that her back air is her hitting me with a bookcase, or like something like outlandishly crazy from like Animal Crossing.
Yeah.
Like I get it. Like Animal Crossing is definitely like one of those like your mileage may vary series. Like if you're not into life sims, you're probably not gonna like it very much. But I've like Glenn said, you can't really be disappointed with what they add, and the jury's gonna be out on how good she's gonna be until she comes back or until the game starts. But we see a good amount about her, and I'm excited. I'm not excited for the furry art because you guys are fucking weird. But
yeah, I mean, we could. All I will say is people trashing Nintendo for the direct itself. I'm a little disappointed. There was a lot of other stuff in this direct, man.
Yeah,
and
I will say, like, well, you finished what you were gonna say.
No, I was gonna say, and I was gonna cue the trailer here. Was like we're getting like so many Final Fantasy games now coming on the system, which I don't know. If you don't want to play Final Fantasy on a system like the Switch, then there's something wrong with you. Like there's so much experience to be had, and it does make me wonder. Like you see Nintendo embracing Square Enix a little bit more, and all these games coming out, and it does seem like I think. Did you guys see something about the rumor of possibly 72 characters? Was that a thing?
Right. Yeah. The rumor came from the fact that the box art for the Smash bundle, it has the characters on the side of the box, and so they have every single character there, and there's like 3 spots that are missing after Isabelle, or I think it's like 2 or 3 spots. I don't remember, but basically the number comes down to 72. But I don't know. That's not a good way to go off of it. the box can just run out of space. They're not going to fit every single character on the box. So I don't know if that's a good way to kind of speculate how many characters are in the game.
But
Well, someone else
guys-
did, like the math on the blogs, like, oh, they do a blog for a character every like X amount of times, right? And they've been like consistent about it. So like, if we do the math until the game's released, like, there's going to be X amount of characters. I think it was 72, but it said 72, not including like echoes or anything. So.
Yeah, it's also like you have to be careful with that. I remember back when the 3DS Smash was out and the DLC was starting to come out, people speculated that there were only going to be like 1 or 2 more DLC characters after Ryu because there wasn't any space on the 3DS screen to fit them. But then when you actually buy all the characters and you go to the screen, they just put them all on the second screen. So like you can't always count it that way. They just made another screen for themselves.
yeah, they could do whatever they want, man. But in either case, like, it's kind of funny, all the Final Fantasies that ended up on this system, even like that cell phone game, like the cell phone version of Final Fantasy 15, which I think is really cool. But like,
I have a question about that. Like, is that game basically the entire Final Fantasy 15, but just with different graphics? Is that the whole game?
To my understanding, yes. I didn't even really know that existed till I saw this, and then I realized that it was a cell phone game. Like, I was just like, wow, that's really cool.
Really quick before we move into like the other direct stuff that we liked, Crownless just tweeted me something. I think if we have 68 unique characters plus the 4 Echo Fighters, that's where you get the 72.
So it sounds like okay.
Yeah, there's actually another podcast that aired yesterday that you guys can watch if you want to talk more about the speculation.
Oh, that's very true. Yeah, Justy had his own podcast last week, and you should definitely check that out. You can find that in his server. I'm sure if
So to talk about the Direct, I'm actually surprised. You guys were saying your experience with it was that you heard other people didn't like the Direct. All I heard from the people I know and the gaming sites that I frequent, like, people really liked this Direct a lot. Like, they felt like it was just so much information. Like, and going to the Final Fantasy announcements, I mean, that's so great for me personally because I love Final Fantasy VII. And I have no way of playing that game today. Like, I don't want to buy it on my phone. And that's like the only other system I own right now besides my Nintendo stuff. So I was super excited when I saw the Final Fantasy stuff.
Yeah, it's great.
Well, here's my stance. Just really quick, Chris.
Mm-hmm.
Like, here's my stance on how I feel like people receive the Nintendo Direct. I feel like people that own strictly Nintendo franchises are like touch deprived when it comes to franchises that aren't first party Nintendo games. You know what I mean? So when you kind of like look at it big picture, a lot of what they showed for the Nintendo Direct, outside of the handful of like new games or things that we knew about, it's all ports of older games. So that's where I feel like people are getting their lumps where they're not like super excited about it. But looking at it from a big picture thing, as somebody that's never played a Final Fantasy game before, I'm super excited to be able to play all these Final Fantasy games for the first time and experience them. I'm really excited to, for a 3rd edition of the Luigi's Mansion series.
I was about to say, cool. Like, they opened it with a new Luigi's Mansion. Like, I was so excited about that. Like, I love that series, and on the Switch, that's going to be perfect. So I actually want to push back on the idea that, like, it's all ports. Like, they announced a new Animal Crossing at the end, and they announced a Luigi's Mansion at the beginning, and those are 2 brand new games. There are a lot of ports in between. I don't know if the Katamari Damacy game is a port of the original one, or if that's a new, because it is branded different, right? It's called like Reroll or something.
It's a remaster of the original game.
Okay, cool. Well, that's another interesting, like, that's a really cool like gem that I think a lot of people probably haven't played, but that game is great. Like, that's a really good pick for the Switch.
Agreed. It's just a unique experience.
That game launched like at $20. Like, it was not expected to do well. Like, it was just I guess you want to buy this. But that game is amazing. I recommend that when that game comes out and you got some money, buy that game. It's so good.
You know what? A lot of people they don't like this game that much, but I sort of just like what you can do with it is basically the Super Mario Brothers Wii U games ported over. Just the portability of the Switch and this particular title, I think, is really cool. And even just from like an organizer perspective and someone like with events, Like,
Yeah.
people just come to Smash events, people who aren't competitive, mostly just to hang out and play games. And then you see stuff like this, where you actually have a group of people you could play these games with, like, locally. So it
Yeah.
gets, like, masked under the guise of, like, Smash Bros. But then even, like, even the NES, the virtual console service that comes with the online service now, like, that's pretty big because that's going to get, like, demographic 30+ to these events and actually enjoying something that isn't just Smash Brothers. Like,
that was actually,
there's a lot of cool stuff.
In my opinion, the only thing I found disappointing about the Direct was the online part of it, because we have been waiting like for like a year plus, knowing that the online was going to switch to paid, and like for them to do a Direct a week before the online service kicks off, I felt like people still had so many questions. Like, I just thought it was going to explain the service better, and I don't think it did a great job with that. Just a little.
To be fair, Glenn, like, you have to remember that this Direct was delayed a week because of the earthquakes. So
that's true too.
Yeah, because that's where I feel like, because that's why I personally feel like a lot of my win was taken out of the Direct, because I feel like the way that Nintendo probably has to do their marketing and licensing stuff is that they announced a lot of this stuff like prior. Like, I knew about Katamari coming to the Switch. I knew about the Civ 6 port to the Switch beforehand, because Nintendo just had no choice but to go through with their announcements of it because of the way that the earthquake.
Oh wow, I actually didn't know about that. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, like Civilization 6 was announced on Thursday the week before. It's like, oh, I wonder what was on the presentation.
One thing that did surprise me, I think one of the few games I was like really interested by was the Game Freak game that they showed called Town. Like, the animation looked really cool. Like, I'm not even exactly sure I understand what style of game that is yet, but like, Game Freak obviously famous for making Pokemon, and like, they're obviously amazing. But it's cool to see them making something that isn't Pokemon. Like, the animations look really cool for that game. I don't even know if it's an RPG or what it ends up what it's gonna end up being, but it looks really
cool.
What's the name of that game?
Right now, the working title is just Town. That's like the funniest thing. It's like it showed an epic trailer, and then at the end it just says Town.
Yeah, you know what's really funny, if you kind of look at, like, if you want to play like Super Psycho and go like to 20 degrees of separation, you probably could have predicted the Animal Crossing stuff coming, because they were like super leaning into the fact, like, oh, you can make your own village with this city simulator game, which looks terrible, or you can play a village with this game called Town. I feel like they were kind of like stepping on our throats for a while. It's like, all right, we get it. Like, haven't broken glass yet. And then, sure enough, it happened.
About City Skylines, though, you're fucking whack.
Wait,
that game looked ass, man. I'm sorry.
Isn't it basically just The Sims?
It's like SimCity. It's SimCity.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wait, so is it? It's not made by the same
boy. What's up?
It's not made by the same people who make SimCity. It's like a Pepsi version of SimCity.
I guess so.
Yeah. That's funny.
I just think it looked like crap, personally. That's just...
Yeah. I didn't really pay attention to that part of the Direct. Like, I rewatched it. I'll admit that I kind of skipped over that part. I feel bad because if that game ends up being amazing, it's like I really wasn't that interested. One of the interesting things to note about the Direct, though, is like what they didn't show. And like it's been a long time. We still haven't seen, Metroid Prime 4, which was announced. They showed Fire Emblem at E3, and they haven't shown anything else from that game. I thought we were going to see more Fire Emblem.
I don't think we're going to see anything of their, like, the three major titles that we're waiting for, which is like Bayonetta 3, Metroid Prime 4, and the new Fire Emblem, until Smash is done.
Yeah.
Unless it ties into a character they're announcing.
Yeah, and that's funny, because when they showed Ridley at the reveal of Ultimate at E3, I was like, oh, no brainer. They're going to go right into Metroid Prime right after this. And then they didn't, but I think you're right. They're probably just like trying to pace it out and then probably just save it for E3.
Yeah, man, I don't know. It is interesting, though, because it does make you wonder, since those characters, I mean, I don't think we'll ever see another Metroid character really get into Smash, but just in the way that they did Animal Crossing, where they did a character reveal based off of a game reveal, it would be interesting to see, like, any number of game come out, like, let's just say, like, it is Metroid and then like there's another character that comes out with that.
Right. You know, I was actually expecting what I was expecting for this direct was actually that they would show more Pokemon stuff because they have Let's Go Pikachu coming out soon, and then they obviously already announced like the mainline Pokemon for next year. So I was expecting maybe a tie-in the way they did with Isabelle and Animal Crossing. Like I thought maybe they'd show Pokemon and have a Pokemon character that's coming to Smash because we all know like one of these new characters is going to be a Pokemon, and they haven't shown that yet. And they also haven't updated the site to have like a Pokemon song yet at all. In all the songs that are on there, Pokemon's the only like one of the only major franchise doesn't have it. And they usually like wait until they show a character to put those songs like coincide with the character reveal. So
yeah, I feel like in regards to the Pokemon stuff, I feel like Nintendo probably wants Let's Go to sell well. So I feel like I think them showing anything regarding the new franchise might hinder the consoles or might hinder the game's like selling point. Because let's be real, like I'm still on the fence about this game because I'm not a Pokemon Go person, and I don't think my piss and shit colored Joy-Cons are gonna make me want to buy it any faster.
They're a little ugly, yeah.
They're a little ugly.
A little ugly. Yeah, James loves them. I've heard.
James pre-ordered them.
Mm-hmm,
Yeah. Oh, hey James, are you back?
Yeah, I'm alive.
All right, so how about you give us your thoughts on Isabelle?
Isabelle, she's completely fine. Great character. Honestly, deserves it a lot. Just the trailer was trash. That's all.
Yeah, the trailer was not impressive.
Yeah,
There's no reason for them to have a horrible trailer like that when it's like, okay, it already shows this is not depicting real gameplay on the bottom, so we know she's the character.
Right.
Oh, this is for Smash. And they pretty much didn't even like have any surprises. It was just lackluster. Like it should have been the opposite way. Announce Animal Crossing and be like, yo, Smash trailer too, but with Isabelle, that'd be sick.
Right.
But it wasn't that, so it sucked.
So being a big Fire Emblem guy, do you think we'll see another Fire Emblem character? Speaking of which, Glenn did bring up the Fire Emblem Switch game coming up.
Yeah, we didn't see anything about that, which kind of sucked. But no, I don't think anyone deserves to be in the game anymore at this point, besides like old reps. But they're not going to choose old reps.
Hector.
Yeah, he deserves it, but they're not going to choose him.
The Switch game it's a whole new story, right? All new characters, everything.
Yeah, it's a completely new game. So hopefully they just don't do the Corrin thing.
I mean they kind of they might, but
I know.
Not again. I can't do it.
like it might happen, maybe.
Not a third time, dude. I can't.
Really quick, tying in Smash stuff to like trailer stuff. Can we talk about how we've technically known about Luigi's Mansion 3 since the Simon Belmont trailer?
Yeah, that was good. That was really good.
Cool, yeah.
That was really
smart.
smart.
So
and that was dumb on our part for not noticing it more.
Yep.
So they basically, for people who don't know what we're talking about, it's that Luigi in the Simon Belmont trailer, he shoots a plunger at one of the mummies. And so if anyone's played that series, like you actually never do that in the game. And so when we saw the trailer for the new one of the new things they added is that he shoots a plunger he can shoot a plunger out of his gun. So they kind of teased that in advance, which is really
the
cool.
more important part was the poltergust. His vacuum was completely different as well, which was shown.
Oh, I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, that was the bigger version. Like he was holding a whole new like poltergust, and everyone was like, "What the hell? That's not it. That's not from 2 or 1 or even any spinoffs."
So sick.
The funny thing is, I saw the plunger and didn't think about it because I've never played Luigi's Mansion, so I was like, "Oh, I guess he does that."
You know, I actually didn't look too far into that because, like, I don't know. Sometimes when you're making a trailer, you take liberties with certain things. You know what I mean? Like, I actually didn't read into that at all. And then Koopa mentioned it the other day. I'm like, oh wow, yeah, that's so true.
And to think about, I always bring it up, but like in the Greninja trailer, Greninja doesn't have any webbing.
I hate that.
They did that
on purpose, though. They 100% did it on purpose.
Yeah, they did it on purpose so it looked like Mewtwo, and you'd be like, oh.
Oh, one of the other, to talk about the direct, like one of the other things I know, I kind of walked away thinking about, like they announced a decent amount of 3DS games, and it's just like amazing that system is still getting support. Like after they've released this hybrid handheld home console, and like that system is what 6-7 years old now. Like it's still getting stuff, and I mean what they did announce was like the Kirby Yarn port, so that's just support. The Bowser's Inside Story support, but it's support, even though it's port.
That Luigi's Mansion port looks terrible, though. I'm sorry.
Yeah, especially the green Luigi looks disgusting.
Dude, he's gonna be he's gonna be Mario Kart DLC, guarantee it.
I'm like, that's fine then.
Dude,
Pink
he's
Gold
like the
Peach,
green
Emerald
slime from
Luigi.
Ghostbusters.
What's
Like,
interesting?
that's what he reminds me of, the green slime from Ghostbusters.
Yeah, that's true. The Kirby's Epic Yarn, the new one, or not the new one, the port is only on the new 3DS. It doesn't work on the old one.
Really?
Oh,
Oh,
that's
wow.
weird.
Oh, so
I
no
didn't
one's getting it then.
Yeah. I don't know. I wasn't like clamoring for an Epic Yarn remake by any means, but I feel like we're getting kind of pressed for time.
Yeah,
So I
we'll
don't know
probably
if you
call
wanna,
it short. I just wanted to hear you guys' last thoughts on it, but we are pretty much at time.
So, all right. So one last, I guess, in my closing statements regarding this, Isabelle's cute. Don't want to fuck her, and I'm 110% convinced that Hungry's like me theory is gonna pay off in full. Like, I'm putting my tinfoil hat on, and I think we're gonna get Lloyd, and I think we're gonna get Shadow or another Sonic character, and I'm full. We're gonna get Gino. Like the tinfoil hat is fully on right now because I think Nintendo's like made it very clear what like the assets they're recycling.
Well,
like they're
dude, Tales of Vesperia is coming out on the Switch, and I wouldn't be surprised to see Symphonia get a port. So Lloyd is pretty
You know
realistic.
I need to check, before we go, I need to check the temperature on one game that's coming out like in 2 weeks. And especially James, I need to hear his opinion on this because I think that Super Mario Party actually looks really cool so far. But obviously that series has been kind of underwhelming lately. So I wanted to see if James, the Mario Party expert, is at all excited about that game or what his thoughts are on that and what you guys think about it in general.
It's a good question.
All right.
I really want that game to be good. Like that game being good on the Switch in particular would be amazing.
All right. So my opinion is I don't give a shit about it. Like, if you watch that trailer and then watch the trailer for the last Mario Party that was on 3DS, it's literally the same exact game. Everything about it's the same.
Wait, wasn't the last one on 3DS the one that was the collection of like the best 50 games?
Okay, not that one. The one that had boards and normal
Oh,
stuff.
okay, yeah.
Even so, it's still similar to the collection as well, where they went back to boards, but the boards were just mediocre and basic.
Right.
It's like, yeah, we could just have a Monopoly like board where it's very like no choices, very generic. Like there's just so much of the unique aspects of the Mario series that was like filled with love and care and creativity that's just not there. We're just seeing new Super Mario Bros. Version of Mario Party.
Damn.
Well, that's a really good analogy. Yeah.
It's ugly.
Damn, that's not what I wanted to hear.
You
man.
kind of know it. I'm watching this trailer as I have it rolling right now, and I guess I could kind of tell, and I could actually agree with James. Like, you don't even see a lot of gameplay. It's mostly just like the trailer's focused on just people playing it and kind of the novelty of how the screens connect. So I wouldn't be surprised to kind of see it stink a little bit.
they're having way too much fun to be playing a Mario Party game.
Yeah, like it's just not realistic, man.
If you're not like seething mad and like on the verge of punching your sister in the face while playing Mario Party, then you're really not playing Mario Party.
Right.
But like, I'm still gonna pick it up, just because I have hope. But like, when's Nintendo gonna get with the program and realize that I don't have friends in real life to play these games with? Just give me like a full online like party mode, like.
Well,
these mini games look fun to me. Like, I mean, I get what
mini games are always good. They're
what
always.
James is saying is that the board is like super important to the overall experience. And yeah, like actually, now that you mention that, I'm like, wait, I don't even remember seeing that much footage of the boards. Like maybe they are just boring, like plain boards. But the actual game mini games look really fun.
Yeah, but the thing here is, if all that mattered for Mario Party was the mini games being good, then every single Mario Party in the series would be good. Every single one. But there's clearly that's not the case. People hate a lot of the Mario parties, and it's because of the boards. And that's legitimately it. The boards make the game more than the mini games, honestly, sometimes.
That's fair.
Yeah,
that's a good point.
Dude, overworlds are important. It's a big reason why like I even like Mario Galaxy 1 over 2, which is an unpopular opinion.
Let's
but, like,
go. It's not unpopular here, boy.
Well, I just like, dude, there's just more care in like that overworld.
It's so mad right now.
It's not just
I'm
like
not
a
mad.
straight
I just
track.
know that I'm right.
Galaxy 1 Master Race, bro.
Galaxy 1 is like not platforming, so I'd rather platform. So if you want to play a not platformer like Galaxy 1, then I guess that's you, and that's not me.
I'm just trying to explore space as a fat plumber wearing a red outfit, man. That's really all I want.
I'm trying to jump on some platforms. Whatever excuse you have to get me to jump on platforms, you do it. Or let me jump.
Well, anyways, who else has some closing thoughts? So
I won't have closing thought. Just making a call out. Just if Erdrick from Dragon Quest makes it into Smash, everybody owes me like $50.
Yo, I called the Dragon Quest character in Smash 4. I thought they were gonna do it. I'm surprised they haven't done it yet. That series is gigantic. I've been saying it for like forever.
it's not as big as Fortnite.
Oh no.
Specifically, Erdrick from Dragon Quest 3. I
Yeah,
think is gonna.
All right.
Just because it looks like the big NES one.
yeah.
Do we?
Let's all close with what our we have to predict the character. All of us have to have a different prediction.
All right, Glenn, you go first, and you're the guest.
I mean, mine would have been a Dragon Quest character, but Hungry already did that. So I'm gonna go with the easy choice would be Decidueye because he's a Pokemon and he's pretty popular. Easily, like the worst name in Pokemon history is Decidueye. Like you can read it 6 times, you think you're dyslexic. You're like, I don't know where these letters are. I don't know what's happening on this paper.
That's part of the stuff, yo.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go with that one because it's super safe.
Pussy.
All right, James, you go next.
Banjo.
Oh man, that would be so great.
That's a
That's
realistic
all I
one.
want.
That's what you want.
I mean, he's also somewhat realistic.
I think it's realistic.
He's very
mean,
popular.
When the president of a company says, "Yeah, we'll do that," that's pretty realistic. Like I'm pretty sure that the head of Xbox was quoted saying like,
Yeah, the both for Rare and Microsoft. They're like, yeah, that'd be cool.
"Yeah."
Yeah, I'll do that.
Not to mention that like Microsoft and Nintendo seem to have an amazing relationship because like Microsoft owns the rights to Minecraft and like there is a Minecraft edition 3DS. Like I've never seen a third party like hardware thing for a Nintendo console ever.
The
You know?
Fortnite Switch.
There
Yeah.
was one for the Ninja Turtles, which is playing on the NES.
Yeah, I mean that's a bundle, but this is like a full-on.
Oh,
So-
it's like a
A custom
skin?
console.
Yeah,
All right, so
Hungry, you're next.
I already did.
Oh, Dragon Quest. All right. I guess
Erdrick
I'll
from
go.
Dragon Quest.
All right. Like I said, I've gone full like Alex Jones tinfoil hat, and I've bought into the me costume and as like a assist trophy thing. Because like if you look closely, like the new characters they've added outside of like I'd say the Belmonts and yeah, I think that's about it. Like
Really?
everybody else has been and well, no, Ridley was a boss character, so like
Yeah, so it's fine.
yeah, so he's still been like in the zeitgeist of Smash for the most part. So I think it'll either be another recycled assist trophy or a recycled me costume. So I'm going with either. I think the safe choice would be like Shadow or Skull Kid, but I'm definitely gonna go on the limb and say it's gonna be Lloyd as the character we're gonna get because I think that'd be cool.
I think that'd be cool also because the Tales series is coming to Switch in a couple forms, as I mentioned, Vesperia, and I would not be surprised to see Symphonia since it was a GameCube exclusive.
Yeah, or we'll get Banjo, and they'll announce an HD trilogy with Banjo 1 or Banjo 2E, and Nuts and Bolts.
Oh my god!
Oh my god!
No, no.
Mic
Damn.
drop.
Yes.
Put in Grunty's Revenge instead.
Yeah.
I'm just expecting more fighting game characters, man. I forgot about the Mii costumes, but like even like Akira and Jackie from like Virtua Fighter. Like, what if they released Virtua Fighter on the Switch and those? Like,
Dude, they have to.
I'm just
they have to
surprised
be
they had.
Question.
Yeah, they have to look like
Has
that.
anyone other than James played Grunty's Revenge?
No.
Like
Yeah, I
it's
haven't
great.
played it.
Now,
Well, it's not great.
Also, my other prediction that I made a while ago, like, was I really thought they were going to do a Monster Hunter character, and then when we saw like the direct where they revealed Simon Belmont, we see the dragon from Monster Hunter as like a boss, and they have some kind of a stage. It looks like it's like a single player only thing. There's like no platforms and stuff, but I don't know. Like it's kind of weird that they showed it like that. Like I still think there's a shot that there's a Monster Hunter character. That series has been like super popular on Nintendo stuff, so
Like,
we'll see.
last quick thing for me is we'll probably get one more direct between now and December that'll like squeeze out the rest of the Smash juice that's left. So
Oh, for sure.
I think we could probably look forward to that. I'd say sometime in like November maybe. I think that'd be a safe bet.
Yeah, probably. I would think so. But I guess on that and all the character, I mean, I'm mostly just expecting fighting game characters. Like Hayachi, I'm sure is coming or something, or another
I
Street
hope
Fighter
not.
character. But we'll see.
I hope not.
I mean, he had a Mii costume.
I don't want to fight any more fighting game characters. Ryu spoiled the party for everyone. No one wants another Ryu in this game, dude.
There might be a Ryu Echo, so
I feel like
Literally-
that's almost certain in my mind, but I don't know. I could totally be wrong.
Ken's the original Echo fighter. Like, come on.
That's true. He is the original. But what if we just get Dark Ryu? That would certainly be disappointing.
Nope.
But...
Nope. We're done here. We're done. Wrap.
Yeah. So we'll wrap it up there. We'll see you guys next week. We'll be live again on Wednesday. Same time, same place. Topic is still up in the air. We haven't decided. So if you have any good ideas, click that Discord button below this stream. Or if you're watching on YouTube, there's still a link on the YouTube channel. And let us know. Let us know what you want to hear about. Yeah, that's all I got. So you guys have a good night. Thanks for watching. We're going to tune you into Xeno now if you are watching live. And we'll catch you guys next week.
See ya. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yahoo!